Tracy Summer.
Back once again. You are now tuned into the underground. My name is Mbaya and I go by the Doctor. In this video, what I have for you is a high taper with a wavelength up top. I'm going to be using some very familiar tools such as my Stylecraft hitter, which is equipped with the wide X-Pro fixed blade with the one cutter. That being said, I will be also using my Gamma boosted. This thing is going to be a huge conversation in the next following weeks, months as well. Trust me, if you don't know what that is or if you don't have one in your arsenal yet, you need to get on it ASAP. This is not no hype. I'm telling y'all, I've heard a lot of people definitely dissing the boosted, but that's something that you all need. And I know y'all are definitely aware that they did do a boosted trimmer that will be dropping in May. I can't wait to get mine. I'm definitely going to go ahead and pre-order really soon so I can have one on deck. And there is also a shaver. Another drop that will be happening is the CYBORG trimmer drop. If you didn't get yours the last time around, you have another opportunity to get yours. If you have not seen the CYBORG trimmer or clipper in action, I will be using those two in this video, but to cut the top down, I will be using the boosted, which I did equip with this new blade set because it was time to replace it. It's identical to the blade set that already comes on the boosted, but this is in gold, and I will be using the dub guard #1 to cut his hair down. And I will also feature the tight guards as well, just to blend specific areas in the taper, make sure that's tight. But I'm starting off by cutting at the top area on the crown, keeping the lever all the way open, then I will slightly start to close it the more I get into the haircut. Going towards the edge, I will close the lever. This is something that I do regularly just to make sure that I keep the hair dark where necessary, and where I need to cut really low, cut it really low. Just make sure you're adjusting that lever accordingly. But FYI, this is a fade blade and I don't recommend it to use on all haircuts or textures. In this case, we were going for a very smooth look, which it was ideal. And not only was it ideal for this haircut, I definitely do prefer cutting with the Vapor blade, which is a Stylecraft and Gamma Plus standard on some clippers, but I do have it equipped on my protege here, combined with a shallow tooth cutter. He is a barber, so we were talking about the caliber clipper having the very similar setup with the Vapor blade as well as the shallow tooth cutter. It does really lean on that caliber, but I had recently converted him over to the Gamma Plus and Stylecraft Wave, and he is loving it for sure. But I'm going to pop up a few photos just showing you what I mean by fade blade cuts compared to Vapor blade cuts. I like the Vapor blade because it keeps a lot of hair preserved, so you can manipulate the lineup just a little bit better. It's not that you can't do that with the fade blade, it's just a lot easier with that Vapor. It is very generous when it comes to preserving overhang, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it does help tremendously when it comes to the way your lineup setup will be manipulated by those trimmer blades. Anyway, as you can see, everything is pretty much been cut down, and now I'm going to start getting into that side taper. We're going for a high taper, of course, and I am using my Gamma Plus hitter to set in the guideline, and I'm just going to go up right below the temple area. The fact that I'm using the fade blade is going to kind of take away from that vertical bar, so I want to keep as much as possible. As you can see in this shot right here, this is when I used the Vapor blade, kind of like in that shot that I showed you earlier with the pop-up. This is a Vapor blade quality. It's kind of dark, keeps the line popping, all that good stuff. But with the fade blade, it's going to be a different situation. So how I set in this guideline is really going to determine how those vertical bars look, and it's going to help that front box line really pop. So since we have that established and on the sides, everything's symmetrical, I'm going to start working on this back taper. I'm going to set in the guideline, kind of give it a curved, you know, kind of like a U shape at the back here, and just make sure it's established, set in properly, evenly distributed from left to the right. And as you can see, it's kind of arched, really dramatic, so I can really create this like burst effect, really blowing out, you know, getting that super popping effect out of that taper. And this works for some people, others not so much. But we're gonna go ahead and go in with this next guideline. Now that I have my bald guideline established, I'm going to open the lever all the way with my Gamma boosted, create my next guideline, set it in real nice and easy. This is a process that you do not rush. Make sure that everything you do is executed properly. And this is how I set in my guidelines usually, is just go in with the clipper lever open and use the other comb attachments or guard for the situation. But as I said, I'm going to go ahead and set in the guidelines first. So I have the one guard on now, and I'm going to go ahead and set in the next guideline, making sure to keep that same consistency with that U shape or upside down U, pretty much making sure everything is even. And I will start to work on my lever adjusting technique, which will go from open all the way completely to starting to slowly, little by little, close the lever. Or you can go ahead and close the lever halfway, then close completely by just softening up that guide. But before I do all of that, I'm going to remove just a little bit of some bulk at the very top and start to use my 1.5 just to remove a little bit of some weight by using that technique that I just called out, which is the completely open, closed halfway, then close completely. Or you can just move that lever little by little. But in this case, I'm just removing a little bit of some of that weight line that is going into the hair, transitioning from that edge going up into the taper. I really want to create a nice smooth transition. So like I said, I'm going to jump back to the one. I'm going to close the lever because I didn't get to do that with the number one guard. So I'm going to close the lever and slowly start to work my way into that taper, removing that weight line, which is left over from the guideline being created. So I'm going to close completely, start to soften that up. And like I say, take your time, do not rush. If you want blurry blends, take your time. And speaking of blurry blends, I'm about to show you something that I usually do often just to keep it repetitive. Quick reminder, I urge all of you who doubt having multiple tools being unnecessary to get on it. On my CYBORG clipper, I have the Shallow Tooth 2.0 cutter equipped with the Black Diamond Vapor. And on my boosted, of course, I have the Slim Tooth cutter equipped with the Gold Titanium Fixed Fade Blade. That being said, look, these things are necessary. If you don't have two different combinations of blades, you can do a good job. Believe me, you will. It's just the details will not be the same. Anyway, as I move on into the haircut process, what I'm doing right now is working on my clipper lever all the way open, close halfway. Then I will close completely after I see that the guideline that was to begin with at the very beginning was created with the Gamma Plus hitter. I'm going to, of course, soften up that line slowly, little by little. And as you can see, I just close the lever so that way I can completely remove the guideline. If there's anything left over, I will bring the trimmer back in. And if I have to, I will use the foil shaver to complete the blend, making sure that everything is smoothly transitioning into the bald, the balded area. So it's not really that difficult. These are very easy steps to take, y'all. They're easy to follow. You can't really get lost doing this. It seems like a lot going on, but it's not that hard, believe me. Now I'm going to jump over to my 0.5 guard, making sure that I start to remove more of that line or guidelines that are left over, making sure that everything is completely smoothed out. So as you can see, all I'm doing is completely opening the lever and start to slowly close until I completely close it to remove the line. And one thing I will say is how you angle your canvas as your client is going to determine how the quality will turn out. So I have him angled, kind of hunched, bending his neck or having his chin slightly touching the collarbone area, just having him rest. And if you have the client come up like this, it's not very ideal to blend. So I'm going to push him back down and make sure he's angled properly. And I'll put him back up to show you why this is not good, because of the fold that gets created in that nape area is no good. So you can angle them, slightly tilt them, just depending on how you please to cut and how much hair you want to cut. The more stretch you get on the skin, the better off you are. And one thing I want to really get into is how you stretch the skin and when it's necessary to stretch the skin. So that simple little thing that I just showed you with the moving of the neck area to get that taper in the nape smoothly makes a huge difference how your client is sitting. So make sure they're sitting upright for the most part, bend their neck where necessary, have them lean if they have to, have them come up if they have to. But stretching the skin is something I will get into in a whole nother video. And the more those of you who are new to this channel start to view and watch my videos, you will understand what I am talking about with my language, my vernacular, whatever you want to call it, the lingo. You will hear me out as if we've known each other forever, because some things that I will say are very formal for real, but I don't try to complicate it for people because I'm teaching from a beginner's perspective. I don't want to teach you like you know what you're doing or know everything. I'm not even trying to teach like I know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about how I do things, and what I do things like may not work for you. That's why you just take a little bit of what I have to offer and apply it to your situation. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on to the side taper here on the right. And I'm going to go in with the Gamma boosted, of course, clipper lever all the way open. And making sure that second guideline is established. And I will slowly start to close my lever just to kind of speed up the process. I'm going to do this a little bit different from how I did it on the back taper, just because there's more room to work with on that nape compared to the side. For this height taper, I'm going to just hurry up and follow through with the steps and blend it in, then immediately right after move on to my one guard, which I will do the same steps, clipper lever all the way open. Then I will slowly start to close until I close it completely. Otherwise, you can always do the closed halfway, then you close completely. So that's close halfway, close completely, which you do of course start from the open all the way, closed halfway, then you close completely. Otherwise, just do it little by little. Now I'm moving over to the 1.5 and I'm going to do the same steps. Open all the way, closed halfway, close completely. Believe me when I say how repetitive these steps are, how good you will get when you actually get the hang of this routine. You are going to be a monster. You're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Your clients will always be returning. They will be coming back. I guarantee it. And now I'm going to jump over to my tight guard. Of course, the tight guards are something that everyone should have. These are, of course, very similar with many different tools or guard systems rather on the market right now that are starting to get very familiar with the measurements of this type of 0.5 and this half guard, or whichever way you want to call this thing, 1/16 half guard. You know, it's a beast. It's one of the most important guards that we will ever have, as well as the 1.5. But this new West Tech company did do something innovative, which I haven't tried yet because I really should just go ahead and pull the trigger and buy one. But I'm just not really sold on this new system. It just seems like a system that you have to learn and teach yourself how to use, and I'm not really with that right now. But you know, if y'all watching this right now, send one of these items to your boy. Otherwise, yeah, I've moved on to the #1 guard, and of course still using my CYBORG clipper, making sure that I'm establishing details in the taper, you know, going against the grain as I blend and going with the grain, just making sure everything's transitioning into that taper smoothly from that hair. And as you can see, the waves are really flowing into that taper really smoothly. As far as the right side, which is most people's best side, I will say his left side is not going to cooperate the best as it should. And this is something that I have definitely had weird exchanges with some clients, or even just random customers that flow in every once in a while that are looking for a wave style haircut, or just any haircut in general. Don't realize that each side of your hair does not flow the same, especially when it comes to the right side, temple area, by the C cups, on both sides. It just does not match. It is not identical. The barber should be able to help manipulate it to the point where it sort of matches just a little bit, but it's almost impossible. And there's some people that are very irritatingly impossible to please. You know, the really fussy types that don't really accept their flaws and expect you to only do nothing but work the impossible, you know, very annoying stuff. Something that you expect from a kid that doesn't know any better, but when grown men do that, it's just very underwhelming. But anyway, I'm going to speed through this left side, which is pretty much the same process, the same steps that I took on the right side, but there's going to be a little area right above the temple, right below that ridge area. The wave pattern, or just the flow of his hair and the wave included, is going to open a little very weird wave. You know, I think you're seeing it already if you're watching and paying attention closely. Right below that ridge area, it just does not blend very well when you cut it too low. And that's where using that vapor is very helpful to help preserve some of that hair. It kind of camouflages it, but it's still going to be visible, especially being zoomed out from this angle. When I zoom in, it won't be very visible, but it's really there, you know. But this side is pretty much completed. This is the best that it's going to get. And the barber eye always catches this. Most people won't see this flaw, but it's there. It's loud. You see it. I'm going to zoom in and actually start to work on the lineup now that everything is blended. And as you can see, when I zoomed in, that part that I'm talking about is showing loudly. But anyway, this is something I don't want y'all to ever do, by the way, is hang off the ear. Always make sure that you tuck the ear down. Make sure you place that supporting finger properly. And when lining up around the ear, start from the front part of the line, right in front of that ear, above the ear at the front part. Then work your way down the neck area. As you go around the ear, work your way down the neck, down to the nape. Take your time. Do not rush this process. And by the way, for those of you who are wondering, I am using the hitter, which is equipped with the X Pro Gold Titanium fixed blade, which is also equipped with the one cutter. And like I say before, all the time, remember, tuck the ear down. And everybody's ear is going to be different. It's not going to be the same, because when it comes to things such as stretching the skin, understanding the manipulation process is key. And about the ear, let's get a little deep on this real quick. The outer part of the ear is the helix, and the inner part is called the anti-helix. And the scapha, that is the spot that helps bend the ear and help push in the ear. You can fold the ear down. This is definitely something that will help you when it comes to moving the ear out of the way. By simply pushing the outer part of the ear on the helix, exposes the line. So you can fold, you can push at the scapha, all that good stuff. and it will definitely help you create symmetrical lines. Don't be trying to hang off the ear. Make sure that you are folding this down or holding it down, and make sure that you start from the front part of the ear and work your way around using these steps that I'm showing you as far as how to manipulate the ear. Don't be hanging off of the ear. Make sure you're folding it down with your comb hand or brush hand. You know, so like all this hanging right here, this comes with more of an experience. You can do that, no problem. I'm not saying don't do it. I just recommend that you fold the ear down or push it in with those specific spots that I just talked about with the ear. And like earlier, if you remember when I was having my man's kind of, you know, tilt back and lean and kind of creating folds and stretches in his nape area for the neck taper, I was making sure that you see what I'm talking about when it comes to manipulating the skin. Now, understanding those things such as how to have somebody tilt or lean is important because it's part of the manipulation process with stretching the skin. Anyways, since we have all of that established, keep in mind that, you know, the ears are going to be different on everybody, so just be ready for that. But as always, when it comes to the front part of the lineup, when everything's prepped and ready to go, you start from the middle, work your way out into the vertical bars, and make sure you're taking your time. Don't rush. There's a little bit of overcorrecting that I have to do with this hairline because it doesn't grow evenly distributed on both sides, and he has overhang that I intentionally leave to be able to manipulate this to look as if it's been enhanced. This is one of those individuals that does appreciate enhancements, but he definitely doesn't get that on camera. We do it right after. Anyway, as you can see, I am going at this line with both the CYBORG and the Hitta just because they do different work. Obviously, the CYBORG is automatic, but there's specific details that I like to be able to get in there, and the Hitta, being my favorite trimmer, is definitely my go-to. I lean on that thing quite a bit, and I'm going to speed through the Goatee process, but as you can see, I start off by working my vertical bars in, then I get the bottom, clean it out, then just spray a little bit of water. Sometimes I'll spray a little bit of some alcohol, whatever the case, whatever is needed to make sure that I dry out the skin. And when it comes to his facial hair, it's not that serious as far as what I do with this. It's not like it's a beard, but it has to be taken care of and well groomed. So a little bit of water, a little bit of alcohol just to dry the skin out, and the water to just kind of moisturize it. So when I put that beard comb on there, it brings it out. And I'm going to trim it later. I'm not going to really worry about trimming it right now because he doesn't really like to really even mess with that to begin with. He just kind of wants it straight with the hot comb, picked out, and tighten it up as natural as possible versus doing a very unnatural look, exaggerated look with the whole color thing, which we don't do that for his goatee. We just kind of focus more on the front part of the line, which is not enhanced right now. Like I said, I do that after the camera is cut because it's not what I promote. It's not what I do. And the goatee and facial hair stuff is something that I will be focusing up on in later videos. The more you all that are subscribed get in tune and familiar with what I do and my process when it comes to grooming, I don't want to bombard y'all with the facial hair because the least of my concerns. I want to get y'all to be tight with the haircut, then we'll move over to the facial hair. And as you can see, the pop-up is showing me kind of just tightening up that goatee with some shear work, freehand. Looks good, right? And yeah, this service is pretty much complete. I hope y'all found this helpful. And if you want to see more videos like this, please leave a comment, share, subscribe. Let those people that are not familiar with this channel know. Share this account to them, share this video, do what you got to do, spread the word, let them know what's going down on this side. But yeah, that's that, y'all. As you can see, super fresh, very natural cut, and I'm just doing some final touch-ups and details. You know me, I gotta make sure I put that razor wherever necessary, as long as the canvas or my client is able to handle the razor in specific areas, I will apply it. So we're just getting the line a little bit tighter, and it's all in the details, y'all. If you want your people to come back for what you do, focus up on those details. The service probably went about 35 minutes, something like that. And the runtime for the video is, of course, about what, 20-25 minutes. So I really hope y'all found this helpful. But yeah, that's that, y'all. I will catch y'all on the next one.